What if I told you that the very thing you're trying to escape is actually the thing that can transform your life? That pain you feel right now, the rejection, the failure, the sleepless nights, the doubt, it's not here to break you. It's here to build you. But here's the truth most people will never accept. Pain doesn't automatically make you stronger. It only makes you stronger if you decide to use it. Because right now, you're standing at a crossroads. One path leads to excuses, comfort, and staying exactly where you are. The other path, it's uncomfortable, it's hard, it demands everything. But that path is where pain becomes power. And the difference between those who rise and those who remain stuck forever is a single decision. Will you suffer or will you transform? 6 punchy keynote headings. Pain is a signal, not a sentence. Stop asking, why me? Start asking, what now? Your struggle is your advantage. Comfort will cost you your future. Despoiled is built in the darkest moments. Transformation begins when excuses end. If you want, I can now turn this into a full 10 to 11 minute viral YouTube speech for your Fuel-to-Fire channel. Pain is a signal, not a sentence. Expand it to 200 words based on the overall topic and title. Write it in the style of Sinek, without mentioning his name. The speech should focus on men's psychology from a men's and women's perspective. Don't include any ending sentence or conclusion and avoid using headings. Each paragraph should start with a strong sentence that naturally introduces the key point in context. Pain is not punishment, it is information. And most men were never taught how to read it. From a young age, many are conditioned to suppress it, to stay silent, to man up, confusing emotional awareness with weakness, when in reality, unprocessed pain quietly shapes their decisions, their relationships, and their sense of worth. Pain shows you where something matters, even when you don't want to admit it. The frustration after failure, the anger after disrespect, the emptiness after loss. These are not signs that a man is broken, but signals pointing toward values, boundaries, and desires that have been ignored or violated. Men often try to escape pain, while women are more likely to express and explore it, and this difference creates distance. When a man shuts down, he believes he is protecting himself. But from a woman's perspective, it can feel like disconnection, like absence, like a wall she cannot break through. Pain demands responsibility, not avoidance, because the moment a man chooses to face it, he begins to understand it. And when he understands it, he gains control, not over the world, but over his response, his growth, and the direction of his life. Stop asking, why me? Start asking, what now? Expand it to 200 words based on the overall topic and title. Write it in the style of Sinek, without mentioning his name. The speech should focus on men's psychology from a men's and women's perspective. Don't include any ending sentence or conclusion, and avoid using headings. Each paragraph should start with a strong sentence that naturally introduces the key point in context. The moment a man asks, why me? He gives his power away to circumstances he cannot control. It keeps him trapped in a loop of blame, turning pain into a story of victimhood instead of a catalyst for movement. And over time, that question becomes an anchor that holds him in place. The question, what now, shifts everything because it demands ownership. It forces a man to step forward, to respond instead of react, to see pain not as something that happened to him, but as something that now requires a decision, a direction, a next move. Men are often taught to internalize failure as identity, while women tend to process it as experience. And this difference shapes how each responds to adversity. When a man stays in "why me," he isolates, becomes distant, and unknowingly creates emotional gaps, while from a woman's perspective, the absence of action feels like disengagement rather than struggle. Action creates clarity, even when the path is uncertain. The man who asks, "What now?" begins to rebuild trust within himself, showing resilience not through denial of pain, but through movement despite it, turning confusion into focus and hesitation into intent. Your struggle is your advantage. Expand it to 200 words based on the overall topic and title. Write it in the style of Sinek without mentioning his name. The speech should focus on men's psychology from a men's and women's perspective. Don't include any ending sentence or conclusion, and avoid using headings. Each paragraph should start with a strong sentence that naturally introduces the key point in context. Your struggle is not the thing holding you back. It is the very thing preparing you for what others are not ready to handle. Most men see hardship as proof that something is wrong, when in reality, it is often proof that something meaningful is being built beneath the surface. Struggle forces a man to develop depth, and depth is what creates strength that cannot be faked. The long nights, the rejection, the silent battles, these moments sharpen awareness, build resilience, and shape a mindset that comfort could never produce. Men often hide their struggles to appear strong, while women are more likely to connect through vulnerability. And this difference creates misunderstanding. When a man isolates himself in his hardship, he believes he is protecting his image, but from a woman's perspective, it can feel like emotional distance, like she is being kept out rather than brought closer. Struggle becomes an advantage the moment it is owned instead of avoided. When a man stops seeing it as something to escape and starts using it as something to learn from, he begins to operate differently, carrying a quiet confidence built not on perfection, but on everything he has endured and refused to be broken by. Comfort will cost you your future. Expand it to 200 words based on the overall topic and title. Write it in the style of Sinek, without mentioning his name. The speech should focus on men's psychology from a men's and women's perspective. Don't include any ending sentence or conclusion, and avoid using headings. Each paragraph should start with a strong sentence that naturally introduces the key point in context. Comfort feels safe, but it quietly steals a man's potential without him even noticing. It convinces him that staying where he is good enough, that avoiding risk is wise, and that delaying growth has no real consequence, when in reality, every moment of comfort is a trade, today's ease for tomorrow's regret. Comfort removes the urgency that drives action, and without urgency, a man begins to drift. He stops pushing, stops questioning, stops evolving, and over time, what once felt like stability turns into stagnation, leaving him stuck in a life that no longer challenges or fulfills him. Men often associate comfort with control, while women are more likely to sense when growth has stopped, and this creates tension. From his perspective, everything seems fine because there is no immediate pain. But from hers, there is a subtle awareness that he is no longer moving forward, no longer striving, no longer becoming. Growth demands discomfort, because discomfort signals progress, effort, and intention. The man who chooses discomfort over ease begins to build a future with purpose, while the one who clings to comfort slowly disconnects from the very drive that once gave his life direction. Discipline is built in the darkest moments. Expand it to 250 words based on the overall topic and title. Write it in the style of Sinek without mentioning his name. The speech should focus on men's psychology from a men's and women's perspective. Don't include any ending sentence or conclusion, and avoid using headings. Each paragraph should start what? It's a strong sentence that naturally introduces the key point in context. Discipline is not created when things are easy. It is forged when everything inside a man wants to quit. It is built in the moments no one sees, the early mornings when motivation is gone, the late nights when doubt is loud, and the silent battles where giving up feels justified. Dark moments reveal a man's relationship with himself more than any success ever could. When plans fall apart, when progress is slow, when failure repeats, discipline becomes the decision to continue without external validation, to keep showing up even when there's no immediate reward. Men are often taught to rely on strength, but not consistency, while women tend to recognize patterns of effort over time. And this difference shapes perception. A man may believe one big win defines him, but from a woman's perspective, it is the repeated actions, the reliability, the follow-through, the quiet commitment that build trust and respect. Discipline requires emotional control, especially when pain is present. Instead of reacting to frustration, escaping into distractions, or shutting down completely, a disciplined man learns to channel that pain into structured action, using it as fuel rather than an excuse to stop. The darkest moments strip away ego and expose truth. They remove the illusion of control and force a man to confront who he is without achievements, without recognition, without comfort, leaving only his choices, his habits, and his willingness to continue moving forward when nothing around him makes it easy. Transformation begins when excuses end. Expand it to 300 words based on the overall topic and title. Write it in the style of Sinek without mentioning his name. The speech should focus on men's psychology from a men's and women's perspective. Don't include any ending sentence or conclusion, and avoid. Using headings, each paragraph should start with a strong sentence that naturally introduces the key point in context. Transformation begins the moment a man stops negotiating with his excuses. As long as there is a reason to delay, to justify, to blame, there is no real movement, only the illusion of progress wrapped in comfort and explanation. Excuses protect the ego, but they quietly destroy potential. They allow a man to feel right in the moment while staying stuck in the long term, choosing temporary relief over lasting growth. And over time, those small justifications become a pattern that shapes his entire life. Men are often conditioned to appear strong rather than be accountable, while women tend to recognize emotional honesty as real strength. And this difference creates friction. When a man hides behind excuses, he may believe he is maintaining control. But from a woman's perspective, it feels like avoidance, like a lack of ownership, like a refusal to step into responsibility. Accountability is where transformation actually starts, because it shifts the focus from external circumstances to internal choices. The moment a man owns his situation, without blaming people, timing, or luck, he reclaims control over his direction, his actions, and his standards. Excuses fade when clarity becomes stronger than comfort. When a man becomes clear about what he wants, who he needs to become, and what is at stake, the reasons to delay begin to lose their power, replaced by a sense of urgency that demands action. Transformation is not a single decision, but a series of consistent choices made without negotiation. It shows up in the small moments, the decision to act when it's inconvenient, to stay disciplined when it's hard, to take responsibility when it's uncomfortable, and to move forward without waiting for perfect conditions.